My name is Sean. I am a manager here in the beer hall at Harpoon Brewery. I've been here for about just about 6 years now as of this week. It's pretty fun. So I'm super excited to kind of drink a bunch of beer with you guys and talk about the brewery, talk about beer in general. But you guys seem like a lively bunch, so I'm happy to kind of take this whatever direction you guys want. Happy to
John, your job really must.
Yeah, I'm thinking that you guys are gonna make this easy on me, which is awesome. But yeah, I can take questions literally whenever. I enjoy these when it's just kind of a lively conversation. So that's kind of the way I like doing it. Obviously, I have some things I want to hit, but beyond that, like if you want to take it a certain direction, I'm totally cool with doing whatever. I go with the flow. So we got 4 beers: IPA, one a mango, Dragon Vice, and Big League. I usually start off with the Harpoon IPA, our flagship beer. You guys want to check that
my
one?
favorite.
What's that?
This is my favorite.
Go, nice.
This is first favorite IPA. I'm just saying.
How many years ago?
A long time ago. We used to go to those Harpoon Fest.
Oh yeah.
God, dare I say 20 years ago?
Yep.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Almost for my time.
Yeah.
Up in Vermont too.
Oh nice. Yeah. Oh god, I love it there. You guys have been there? I was just there this past weekend.
Prior to the I think even prior to when they renovated, like a number of years ago.
Gotcha. When it was still Catamount, or when we first moved in?
No, it was when it became Harpoon, but
Yeah, gotcha. Okay.
but not when it was Catamount.
Gotcha. Awesome. All right, guys. So here we are, Harpoon IPA. And before I start, let's just cheers. Cheers to a good night.
Cheers. Cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers to everyone on the Zoom.
Cheers. Glass of 88.
All 7 of you.
Probably Georgetown.
Am I being too loud?
No.
Not till the end.
Oh, wait till I'm on the 4th tasting.
Not till the end.
Mike, I hope everyone in your group out there is drinking this right now. It looks like there was like 10 people or whatever out there. All right, so Harpoon IPA. This is our flagship beer. It literally says on the can, this is New England's original IPA. It's very true. We started making this beer back in the early 90s, and it was just a summer seasonal when we first came out. And people really enjoyed it. People also they enjoyed it, but they also had never had a beer like this before. If you're a craft beer nerd like me, you know that there's a lot of IPAs out there now. But when we first brought this beer out, IPA was barely a thing. No one really knew what they were. So it was a summer seasonal, so we stopped it. But then we got a lot of fan mail, literal mail, in our brewery being like, "Hey guys, like where's Harpoon IPA? It was so good. We missed that beer. Bring back Harpoon IPA. We will riot." Stuff like that. An actual fan mail long before social media, so you can imagine what that was like. So we're a brewery of the people, as you might know. So we brought it back, and it became our flagship. People have been loving it ever since. It's the perfect balance of hops and malt. It's not too hoppy. It's not too malty. It literally says right on the can underneath IPA, it's hoppy, balanced, and crisp. So those are great ways to describe this beer.
Great beach beer.
Say again?
It's a great beach beer.
Yeah. All of these beers are great beach beers.
Yeah.
I guess that's the point, isn't it?
What does IPA stand for? What's the
IPA stands for India Pale Ale.
India.
Right.
I
told you that. They didn't believe me.
Yeah.
There are some you look on some beer cans and they'll say, I've even seen some say Indian. That might be by mistake, but
India.
yeah.
Is India the hop?
No.
India is so literally named for India, not the hop, but like where it was. So basically, the kind of story behind that was, and I don't have this to a T, so this might be kind of off, but I'll do my best. I forget exactly when. Yeah, I really can't put an actual date on it. Very, very, very long time ago. We would basically Britain would send beers to, I think, like Mesopotamia or things like that, where workers were working with pyramids, and I totally have this kind of off, but basically they needed beer that was being shipped overseas for a while, and if they sent a beer that didn't have a whole lot of hop content, then by the time it got to where it needed to be, the beer didn't taste like it was supposed to because there wasn't enough hops in it. It would basically deteriorate over time. So what they would do is they would oversaturate the beer with hops and kind of give it that IP, really the quality we know of IPAs right now, which is kind of like the super hoppy, kind of dankish, juicy, whatever you want to call it, slightly bitter taste to it. And they did that so that way the beer would taste like they wanted to taste by the time it got to where it needed to be. That was a kind of a shitty version of that, but you kind of I've read it like once or twice. I have this like comic book of beer I read forever ago. I remember reading, like, oh, that makes a lot of sense. It's kind of about that. That's kind of where it comes from. Kind of looking at the can here. So we have our, as you mentioned before, we actually have our two different areas. We have both Boston's right here, Boston and Windsor, Vermont. Those are our two locations. So we really enjoy this beer. It kind of fuels both of us as well. You can see both of those on there. It really speaks to the whole New England theme of that, all having both of our Boston and Windsor, Vermont locations kind of shown on the can itself. And as we're enjoying IPA, gonna kind of quickly go over our history a little bit. When we have the two locations in the can, we have Boston, we got Windsor. When we first started, we weren't even sure where we were going to be in general. We had three dudes that really love beer and they love traveling. Dan Canary, George Ligeti, and Rich Doyle. They were a bunch of college roommates. And like I said, they freaking love drinking beer. They love to travel as well. And they put all that together. They decided to go on a trip to Europe during their undergrad time. And when they were there, two different things they kind of took back with them. The fact that the beer over there was so much better than everything they were getting in here at this time. So this is like the early 80s. At that point, the craft beer scene really obviously wasn't a thing yet. So the only thing they were really drinking at that time were a bunch of pale lagers and things like that. So when they went to Europe, though, they got to try all these different beer styles, Munich Dunkels, German Hefeweizens, the list goes on and on. Doppelbock, things like that, just crazy stuff that they had never had before. And it really just blew them away as the scene of beer there and how varied the styles were, because they had never had anything like that before. So they took that back with them on the way. The other thing that they really enjoyed was the fact that if they went to a beer hall, they went to a pub or anything like that, the camaraderie in the community there really kind of hovered around beer. You could go to a beer hall, you could sit down and have a beer with your friend, and then someone at like this large communal table, and then like someone that you'd never met before would just sit down right next to you with a beer. You guys would strike up a conversation, and then you would have a brand new best friend for the weekend. Those were the kind of things that would happen all the time when they went there. So those were the two things they took back with them. They really enjoyed their time in Europe. And they were even thinking like, oh, it'd be super cool if we could like start a brewery of our own and kind of bring this experience that we have back to Boston. But at that time, it was pretty much just a pipe dream. So they kind of went back to their studies and kind of went their separate ways. Not until Rich Doyle was doing his getting his MBA and doing a research project on breweries on the West Coast that he realized that putting a brewery together was actually a little bit more feasible than they thought of it originally. So he got the band back together, and they started putting the business proposal together for what is Mass Bay Brewing Company, which is our name on paper. Everyone kind of knows this as Harpoon, but little known fact, we're actually on paper we're called the Mass Bay Brewing Company. I'm not sure if any of you guys have ever heard that before. Some of you have. That's awesome. But Harpoon is kind of just is one of our brands. We wanted to make that the face of the company because Mass Bay Brewing Company doesn't really like flow off the tongue as well as Harpoon Brewery does. And they knew they wanted to kind of name it after something in this area and kind of keep it nautical and things like that. And Harpoon is what they settled upon. But to that end, they put the business proposal together, and they knew they needed a few different things to get this brewery up and running. First thing would be that they needed a head brewer. The boys, they were really, really good at drinking beer, but they were not so great at making it. So they had to decide to kind of get a head brewer. And what do you do when you need a head brewer? Well, apparently you fly out to UC Davis in California, which has one of the best fermentatory science programs in the United States. And they interviewed the entire graduating class that year. It took them a super long time. There was a grand total of 7 people. And they picked the valedictorian of that class, and his name was Russ Eisner. And he became our first head brewer, which was really awesome. So we have our head brewer. Second thing we needed a location to brew. They could have put this brewery together in their parents' basements or garages, but they definitely didn't want to do that. And they had a little bit of money saved up. So they started looking at real estate, and they eventually settled on this place that I'm speaking to you from right now. This is 306 Northern Avenue in Boston. This is our home. It's always been our home. Obviously, we have the second home in Vermont, but we have never changed the locations here. We've always been right here, right next to this beer wall that I'm speaking to you from. So we have, and I don't know if you guys have been to the Seaport recently, but there's a lot of really cool things going on. I mean, we're not even the only brewery in town anymore. There's a couple of parks, there's tons of retail spots, tons of places, tons of pubs, restaurants, things like that. High rises of apartments, which I can only imagine how expensive the apartments are. But when they were originally looking for real estate, this area was nothing like that. There was nothing else going on. It was just a bunch of dirt roads, fish packing plants, and Whitey Bulger murder scenes. There was nothing else going on. So this place was really, really cheap. They signed a 100-year lease, and we were on our way. So we had the head brewer, we had the location. The last thing we needed is a professional brewer's license. You do need one of those to professionally brew in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. So they put that proposal together as well. They crossed the T's, dotted the I's, and they sent it to the State House, and the State House people looked at it and they had no idea what to do. There was a dormancy period in brewing at that time, and there was pretty much, anyone that was working at the time had never seen a proposal like that. So it took them a really long time to get back to us. I think it was about 9 months or so. And I guess what they decided to do was they basically restarted the whole process. The State House did. They awarded us professional brewer's license number 001. And we became, which made us the first, but also the longest continually running brewery in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. We still are to this day. Some people think it's that other Boston brewery, but it's us. Also, they're not even technically Boston. Most of their work is done in Cincinnati.
Really?
So that was it. So that kind of jumpstarted our time. Moving forward a little bit, alluded to many times, in 2000, we gained our other location in Windsor, Vermont. The Catamount Brewery was going, hi guys, just doing a virtual tasting right now. Sorry, there's people walking in. Hi guys.
That's all.
Sorry guys.
That's
Doing
okay.
a virtual tasting right now.
How you doing?
Good.
Awesome.
Hey, how are you doing?
How you
Hold
doing?
on a second. Here, let's do this. There we go.
How you doing? Oh, awesome. You guys doing a tasting or sampling or something?
Yeah.
Totally.
Oh man, cheers. I love it. Look at that. You got a professional with you right here. I'm not a professional, but you got one right here.
He works here.
Oh, great job.
That's
All
awesome.
right, so
Where do they live?
Salem.
Salem.
Yeah,
Oh.
most of Salem. You guys all in Salem? Is that how it works?
I'm in Lynn,
Okay. You guys
Georgetown.
all went to Salem State anyways.
And where are you, Mike, right now, though?
I'm in Haverhill.
Gabriel.
Sorry guys.
We're all over the place.
All our brewers are brewers down
Hold on guys, sorry.
No worries.
It's not. Guys, sorry, I kind of need the room. It's okay.
I think it's funny that he said they work here, and I was like, well, I hope so, because if random people are just walking into your place off the street.
Okay. Sorry guys. I apologize. Anyway,
It's an
2000, we gained the Vermont space, which was really awesome. If you've never been there, I highly recommend going there. Kind of fast forward a little bit because I'm noticing the time. In 2014, this is definitely more important. In 2014, we became an employee-owned brewery. At that point, one of our founders was already gone, but the second one was thinking about leaving. He ended up selling his shares back to the people, and we started an employee stock ownership program, or ESOP for short. Pretty much means that everyone that works here, any full-time members, accrue stock over a certain amount of time. Once you hit a certain amount of years, your shares are fully vested. Next year, my shares will be fully vested, which I'm super excited about. It just makes everyone here kind of, everything that you do kind of puts a bigger spin on everything. Like the whatever you can do to kind of help the next person. Like we are literally like independent brewery, and being employee owned is a great thing. So we're super excited about that. We have been for some time. So that is honestly really important. We want to make sure I get that out there. other than that, we got a bunch of different brands. We got the Harpoon brand. We got the UFO brand, literally stands for unfiltered offering. Those are all wheat beers. So I'm sure you've probably heard of UFO White before. Clown Shoes is another brand of ours. They were their own brewery for a while, but they didn't have their own brick and mortar place. They were kind of looking to settle down, and they actually chose us as their future home or new home, basically. And all 8 of their employees became full-time and employee owners immediately, which was awesome. We were glad to have them join us. A lot of IPAs that they make, a lot of barrel-aged beers, things like that. Galactica Space Cake is a couple of their IPAs. If you never had them before, highly recommend checking those out. They got tons of other stuff too. City Roots is our cider brand based on our former Harpoon cider. We kind of wanted to give the brand a facelift. So we have an original dry cider as well as a couple different, bunch of seasonal ciders as well. Right now, the summer seasonal is a ginger and lemongrass cider, which I'm not a huge cider person, but I really like that cider. It's excellent. And lastly, would be remiss if I didn't mention this, but Arctic Chill is our hard seltzer brand. So we actually pair with Polar beverages in Worcester. So we make the base here in Boston. We ferment it here. We send it to Polar. They kind of add their very famous Polar seltzer flavorings. They can it there. We send it right back to us. One of you looks incredibly bewildered by this. Yeah. But yeah, it's just, so Arctic Chill is us, formerly Arctic Summer. We changed the name because I guess the market thought it, because it had the word summer in it, it was a summer seasonal. It's not, it's a year-round thing. If you've never had Arctic Chill before, highly recommended. They're
Really,
awesome.
I have never had it before by the look on my face.
I know.
Put that down.
You're just like, what is happening? I was like, what is happening? Yeah, so that's us in a nutshell, basically. That's our history. I'm gonna down this IPA real quick. And I'm
Wait, what was that Arctic stuff called?
So is he taking a drink?
Arctic Chill.
Chill.
Do I have a can? I don't think I do in here, unfortunately. But Arctic Chill is the name of our seltzer brand. I highly recommend it if you haven't seen it. Oh yeah, there you go. It's in there.
On
Why
the-
not? You guys have the plate. Is my name on there? Is my face in there? No, I don't think it is.
No, not this version.
That's so sad. I have those with my own face on it. I guess they didn't know at the time. It has my face on it. It has like fun facts about me, my favorite beer, and all that. So that's sad. And I'll see that you guys don't have it.
All right, what's your favorite beer?
My favorite beer in Harpoon is the Can't Want a Mango, which so easily brings us into our next beer, which is
There you go.
it's almost like I planned that. I didn't, but that was cool.
Nope. Right there.
It's the yellow one?
Yep.
That's the yellow can. Yep. So
Looks like a canoe.
this is my favorite Harpoon beer right now. The other fun fact about me is I love corgis. I'm a big corgi dog fan. I don't have my own. I literally have a corgi on my wallet.
Really?
Yep. I don't own one, but I would love to someday. My other fun fact is that I ferment hot sauce in my spare time, which I started doing during COVID, and I love doing it. I love spicy stuff, so it makes me happy.
I like that.
So is it good?
Yeah, of course it is.
That's awesome.
That is me. So I'm gonna pour out some of this Can't Want a Mango. Again, it's my favorite beer, so I'm gonna pour out a little bit more into the IPA.
Ooh, that's good.
Good.
It's got a little orange flavor.
Mango.
It's not, that's not as bitter.
What's it called?
No, it's much. Yeah, Can't Want a Mango. I agree with you, sir. Definitely not as bitter as the IPA. It's not as hoppy. Also, the ABV is a little bit lower as well. It's got a good 5% ABV. So that's a pretty awesome sessionable beer. Most of the Can't Want a Mango and the Dragon Vice, I would say, are definitely sessionable beers, meaning you can have many of them in a day. The Big League and IPA, it's a little bit tougher, but the Big League, we'll get to that one last, but that one's really good as well. Has anyone never had this beer before? I don't know if anyone have never had it before. Yeah, I really like this one a lot.
It's really good. I think this is even more of a beach beer.
It's super refreshing, tons of mango flavor. I get tons of mango up front on this one. Nice and crisp, very light mouthfeel. What else can I say about it? Literally says crisp and tropical on the can as well. So this is our summer seasonal. It has been for a few years now. 1 year we kind of did promoted it to like the second seasonal slot in the summer, and we did it was called One Hazy Summer, which was our new seasonal. It was just a hazy IPA. People, like I said it before, when we kind of retired IPA and we wanted to bring it back, people rioted about it. People rioted when they found out that we didn't have as much Camp One Mango anymore. That was like a couple years ago. It was rough. People came to Brewery. We're like, "Where's mango?" We're like, "We only have so much of it."
Oh my gosh.
Sorry, missed it.
Oh, sorry. It's crazy that people will literally like stalk you over beer.
People really like this one, and with due cause, I think, anyways.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, this is my favorite. I could literally, I drank this literally all summer. I mean, I drink other stuff too, but I like this beer a lot. Super good, super refreshing. Yeah, I can't say enough great things about this. So I hope you guys like it too. So you guys are keeping scorecards, huh? By the way.
Yep.
What's our score so far? IPA is like a 2 or a 3.
I had the IPA at a 2.
2.
Hoppy for a 2.
Look at another person.
I didn't score. I was just making notes.
Yeah, notes are good too.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right, guys. So while you're kind of enjoying the Can't Win a Mango, kind of happy to talk about our brewing process. If you guys want to hear about it. One second.
Deputy Cargill.
Somebody's here. Also, what's his name? Mark?
Mike?
Mike? He's like,
Did Mike drop off?
He said his internet might go in. Hi, Kathy. How are you?
hello, I'm Sean. Welcome.
Your son, so we can't hear you.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, they're muted. But that's okay. Yeah.
She graduated.
So I love to kind of quickly kind of go through our brewing process a little bit if you guys are interested in hearing about how we make beer here.
Sure.
Cool. So basically, any of you guys know what the 4 ingredients of beer are? The 4 main ingredients?
Water.
Yep. Well, that's the big. Sorry, hops. Yeah.
Wheat.
Good. Yep.
Malt.
Malt.
Yeah. Wheat or malt. Any maltable grain is what we're looking at. And there's one more. If you guys know what it is, you may or may not know.
Sugar.
No.
No, but kind of.
Yeast.
Yeast.
Yeast. Boom, boom, boom. Yeah. So water, hops, malt, and yeast. So at the beginning of the brewing process, we basically start with malt. Basically we take a bunch of grains, kind of looks a lot like this, all these like little kernels and things like this. There's a bunch of different malt out there. This is more of a pale malt. I also can show you guys more of a darker malt, kind of more for stouts and porters and things like that. So basically what happens is all this grain goes through our grist case. What happens in the grist case is it takes all these individual kernels and breaks open the husks to expose the sugars inside. All of that grain goes into what we call the mash tun, where we mix 2,000 to 25,000 pounds of this malt or malted barley, whatever you want to call it. Also wheat, also rye, also corn, anything that's malted you can use. We add that to the mash tun with about 6,000 to 8,000 gallons of water. So it's a lot of water. It's about 120 degrees Fahrenheit as well. So just a ton of really hot water. So all that is, both those ingredients are basically mixing into the mash tun at that point, literally creating a mash. It's not quite liquid. It's not quite solid. Kind of looks more like oatmeal at that point. So that's mixing in there. Once that's all set, that's going to move over to the lauter tun. So what happens to the lauter tun is that mash at this point goes in on an angle. There's a false bottom, kind of like a filter or a coffee filter, whatever you want to call it, kind of talking like that, where basically it catches all that spent grain up top and all that sugary wort liquid kind of goes to the bottom. What we do with the spent grain, we don't just throw it out, we do use it. A couple things we do with that spent grain. The first thing is we actually reuse it here. It gets added into our salt when we make pretzels here in the beer hall. So we actually have a little bit of spent grain in our pretzels, which is pretty cool. So we do that. Second thing we're going to do is we're going to add it to, send it to local dairy farms for nutritious feed for cattle. I've been told when the truck pulls up with our feed that the cows get really excited because it's more nutritious than the stuff they're usually eating, because all those sugars have been exposed, so it's like super delicious at that point. So that's what we do with the spent grain at that point. From that point, we take just the liquid, that sugary liquid. This is called wort. That wort gets sent into the boil kettle, where basically it's going to boil for about 70 minutes. We have a pressurizer on our boil kettle, which allows us to save both time and energy. We're able to get to a 120-degree Fahrenheit boil in about 70 minutes, as opposed to a normal 90-minute boil, which is awesome. But we also get to that point faster as well because it's all pressurized. The other thing that happens in the boil kettle, and this is my favorite part, is where we add hops. So hops are basically, it's kind of a flour, and we have a lot of different hops throughout the United States and in the world. Many different ones kind of add different flavors. We have kind of more citrusy hops, more bitter hops. The list goes on and on and on. What we use, we don't actually use basically when you look at hops, it's kind of a flour and has like a cone in the middle. But what we use is actually pelletized hops, which kind of look like this. You can hear that. Kind of looks like this. These are specifically Cascade hops. We actually use this in the IPA that you had before. This gets sent into the boil kettle. We can add hops at 2 different times, depending on how we want the beer to end up. If you add hops at the beginning of the boil, it's going to be a little bit more, you can add more bitter flavors to the beer. So for example, to the IPA, you're going to add a little bit more hops at the beginning as opposed to the end. However, if you want less bitter flavor and kind of more aromatics, then you would add hops to the end of the boil kettle because there's less kind of being boiled off at that point, so the smell is going to stay with it. That's the quick thing on the boil kettle. From that point, it gets sent to the whirlpool. I'm literally looking at it right now. It was sent to the whirlpool. In there, at that point, the beer is kind of spinning really, really quick. It's doing 2 different things right now. One is getting a jump start on the filtration process. There are basically pockets of area around the side of the whirlpool where it kind of separates anything that we don't want in the beer at that point. Mostly hop solids, maybe some spent grain that happen to fall through the cracks, things like that. Because it's spinning, it gets basically all the extra stuff gets pushed out to the side, and all we're left with is that what is not yet beer, but close to being beer. But the other thing that we're going to be doing at that point is we're going to be adding any adjunct ingredients. So adjunct ingredients is basically anything that isn't the 4 main ingredients of hops. Anything you want to add to a beer that gives it more flavor. For example, so Can't Want a Mango, which again, I'm going to have a real quick sip.
Yeah, you're doing too much talking.
I'm talking so much, but I have to. In Can't Want a Mango, we have, obviously, yeah, we have the 4 main ingredients, but we also have mango puree. This is where at this point, this is where we're going to add that mango puree to kind of give this beer its flagship or star flavor,
So
basically.
it literally has mango in it.
It literally has mango in it. So this basically all that mango is going to get put into a mesh bag. It's going to get seeped into the beer, just like you're doing tea, if you're thinking about it that way. It's going to stay in there for a little while, and then once we kind of get it to the point where we want it to be, we take it right out.
Might be.
So that's that point. That's basically the hot side of brewing at that point. From that point, it gets sent through a heat exchanger. 2 things are happening there. Basically, both the beer and water kind of going through different sides. We have both hot water and cold water going through that heat exchanger. Basically, what's happening is the beer itself at that point is going into the fermentation tanks, but it's passing through that exchanger through cold water, which the cold water is cooling down that beer to about 70 degrees Fahrenheit, which makes it perfect for fermentation. Because at that point it's like 120 degrees, and we need it to cool down because yeast only eats in cool temperatures. The other side of that is that because the beer is going through, there's also hot water, which is cooling, which is kind of heating up the cool water, which is also making that cooler water to about 120 degrees Fahrenheit, which makes that perfect for the mash tuns. We add that back to the mash tun at the beginning of the festival. So it's kind of all like a full circle kind of deal. From that point, we do a few different things. Fermentation starts right here. The beer is going to sit in these tanks, and the yeast is already waiting for it in the fermentation tank. So yeast is literally a living organism. It actively searches through the beer and is looking for sugars to eat, which then after it eats those sugars, it is producing both CO2 and alcohol. So this is the point in the process where this literally becomes beer because alcohol is being produced. So that's happening. Yeast eats for about 3 to 4 days. It depends on the beer. It's going to have that. Once the yeast has been spent, we're going to flash cool those tanks to about 29 degrees Fahrenheit. And at that point, all that's going to happen is it's going to be sitting. It's going to be going through a maturation process.
Yeah, I've never heard of it.
That beer is going to sit there and kind of let the flavors meld, kind of make the beer, create the beer the way we want to make it. Sits anywhere between 7 to 10 days, again, depending on the beer, and just kind of sits there. It gets cool and is ready to go. From that point, it gets sent to the actual filtration process. We have a 2-step filtration process here. The first step is called the centrifuge. Basically the exact same thing that's happening in the whirlpool. The beer is going to be spinning around really fast. It's again going to be separating anything from that beer that we don't want, whether it's hop solids, spent yeast that we don't want in the beer, anything like that, to kind of give the beer a little bit more clear quality. All of our beer goes through that first step in the centrifuge. Some of our beers don't. Any beer that is hazy, any of our UFO series beers are basically going to go through that first step and then it's going to skip the second step because we want that beer to have that cloudy, that hazy appearance. Because that's what gets taken out in the second step, which is the DE filter, which is short for diatomaceous earth filter. So that is taking even more microscopic bits of that beer and making that beer even more clear, taking out more hop solids, more yeast, things like that. Basically making the beer clearer, kind of making it look more like this as opposed to the big leaf, which we'll get in a second. From that point, once it's filtered out, we send it back to the tanks where we basically force carbonate it. We do get a little bit of carbonation from the yeast eating all the sugars, but we don't get quite as much as we need. So we do kind of send a little bit more CO2 into the beer to kind of give it the kind of the carbonation and the foam that we need. And then from that point, it gets packaged. It goes to our canning line. It goes to our kegging line, our bottling line in Windsor, Vermont. It gets packaged up. It gets sent on our trucks. It goes out to your favorite restaurants and liquor stores, and it's ready for you guys to drink, which is the best part. And that is the quick version of our brewing process. So I hope you enjoyed that.
Cool.
Absolutely.
All right, let's move on to the third beer. We got about 20 minutes left. This is a Dragon Weiss. This is a lot different from what you guys have been doing so far. This is a session, what we call a session sour. I like to think of it as a little bit more of a tart beer. If you pour it into your glass, this color is going to be way different from anything else that you drank tonight. It's kind of more of a pinkish flavor.
Yes.
Oh, I like that one.
So this beer, if you guys have had, it's kind of more of a tart beer. It literally has both dragon fruit, hibiscus in it as well. And also has a lot of ingredients in it that are better for you. This beer can make you feel better. It literally has chia seeds, buckwheat kasha. I think it actually says it on the side of the can somewhere as well. Yes, it does. Hibiscus powder, dragon fruit, flaxseed, maca powder, sea salt with natural flavor.
So like,
It has a ton of stuff in it that is a bunch of ingredients that are better for you than some other ingredients you might find in beer. That also helps us kind of keep the caloric count down as well as the ABV. This is, like it says in the can, it's at 115 calories, 4.6% ABV. At this point, this is definitely the lightest beer we've had.
And it's different than most sours that I've had too.
Yeah, it's not as tart. It's not as like puckery. Yeah.
I've only had a few sours in my life, but they've always been like more puckery than this.
This is very tame. This is very tame.
and this is good. I like this one.
But just like the Can't Want a Mango, like this is light. This is refreshing. This is super good. This is good on the beach, as we keep saying.
Yeah, exactly.
I like that one.
This is definitely different. I've never had pink beer.
It's excellent. Yeah, I
I
really
like this one.
a little bit more.
So I really shouldn't even be drinking beer because I don't usually have gluten. Do you have any gluten-free beers?
No, that's a good question. We actually don't right now. Our ciders are and our Arctic Chill is, but we actually don't have any. I'm pretty sure actually that we don't have any beers right now that are gluten-free. We have dabbled with gluten-reduced beers on our pilot system. We've definitely made at least a couple since I've been here, but nothing mass-produced, unfortunately. Definitely something we're looking forward to. Good point to mention. If you guys
tolerant, Beverly, or are you allergic or?
I'm like intolerant.
Oh, okay.
I mean, my stomach will probably be huge after I drink all of this, but
Yeah.
whatever, it's worth it.
One thing I do want to mention, if you ever have like ideas or like a kind of input like that, we're always happy to take like input or ideas on beers and things like that. You can literally email info@harpoon.com. And they'll like, if you have any ideas or like any good or bad, we'll take everything. It's basically our new version of when we got fan mail when people wanted IPA. There's a more modern version of that. Info@harpoon.com. Always feel free to email that and just kind of tell you who you are and what you're feeling and what you want to see. And they might take your idea and run with it, or they might not. But but either way, that's always a good thing for me. I like to mention that as well because.
Well, I'm gonna definitely try that Arctic chill.
Yeah, please do.
By my face.
Definitely. So we got about 15 minutes left. I actually kind of sped through the brewing process. So at this point, we're kind of just doing Q&A and hanging out. We do have one more beer. I want to keep kind of doing the Dragon Weiss for a second. But I'm happy to take literally any questions that you guys might have about me, Harpoon, the beer hall, anything, the brewery itself, or things that we do or things we don't do, or vice versa. So feel free to throw things at me if you guys have any questions. But otherwise, I'm happy to kind of just chill here, talk with you guys, drink some beers, have a good time.
You still do the Harpoon Fest or no?
Yeah, they still do.
Harpoon Fest? Yeah. So, I mean, obviously last year notwithstanding, but yeah, we do still do festivals.
I get emails.
We might have one coming soon. I can't say necessarily, but we should be bringing one back very soon. We should have one pretty soon here. I know Vermont's going to have their barbecue fest in Vermont is definitely happening, if you're aware of that one. I think it's going to be happening later on, but we are going to be having something happening here. Soonish.
Yeah, I was going through old pictures, and back in 2000, we've been to a couple of barbecue festivals, like back in 2008, I think was our first one we went to.
Yeah.
In 2007, 2008.
Yeah.
So those are always fun.
I went to I got to go like back to back one year. So back in the day, they would send a few people from the beer hall just to kind of go and help, but it was like the best weekend ever because we didn't get paid, but I didn't really care. So, like I just wanted to be there because it was such a great experience to kind of just go and like kind of give people beers and interact with people and get to eat barbecue and just have an awesome time. So I recommend that festival. But yeah, something should hopefully be happening here very soon, which I'm so freaking excited about. Cannot wait. Cannot wait for festivals to be back. It's been so long. We've missed them. They are very much a cornerstone of what we do. Like our first art Oktoberfest that we threw here, the first one we ever did. It was literally.
I went to the first one. What year was it?
Our first one, Oktoberfest. I should know this. Yeah. I don't have an exact year.
Was it in the late 90s?
It had to have been something in 99, maybe.
I think I went to the first one. Yeah, I think I remember
earlier. It was actually like a going away party. We thought we weren't going to make it. Was why we were like, F it, let's just throw a huge party with all of our friends. And apparently it got so crazy that like employees that were working it were literally calling their friends and significant others and being like, can you come down to the brewery and help pour beers because there's so many people here.
Yeah.
Or so I've been told. I've been told some pretty cool stories from back in the day.
You still hear I haven't been in a long time, but do you still do the coin? Like you buy the coins to buy the beer?
No, like tokens and things like that. I mean, they exist in certain forms.
That's how I did it.
I'm sure people have them. I have seen them in the past here or there.
You're dating yourself, Cheryl.
I just said to her, this must have been when Cheryl was in college, like back in the day.
I was 25 at the time.
After
yeah, it was after college. I moved to Boston, and that was how I met a lot of people, to be honest. Like, because it was all guys. So my girlfriends and I loved going to the Harpoon Fest. It was like a great way to meet guys.
That's hilarious. True. You're not wrong.
It's true. It's true. It was,
yeah.
right? I mean, you went.
I went. I didn't know you at the time.
We were probably at the same Harpoon
Probably.
Fest.
Probably.
Who knows? We may have even talked.
Oh god, that's hilarious. All right.
We followed the same band and went to the same concert in Somerville, Davis Square.
Okay.
Randomly realized that later on, like, you know, a couple years after. So
Yeah, that's cool.
yeah. Back in the day.
Yeah. But
Okay.
yeah, the one thing we liked, I'm not sure if it's still the same, we liked about the Vermont brewery was that we could bring our dogs to it.
Yes. Yeah.
And
it's-
I'm not
Let
sure.
the dogs on the.
I'm not sure if that was the case with the Boston one, but I know with Vermont we could bring early on we could bring our dogs. So
yeah, I mean, especially inside too, or just outside.
The outdoor.
like yeah, for the barbecue festival with like
Oh,
outside.
yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. Yeah, they definitely do. Yeah, Vermont in that regard, that specific regard, has it easier than us. It is. We have so right now, and as recently as last year, we just launched our outdoor space last year, and we brought it back this year, bigger and better. But we're actually not allowed to have dogs unless they're service dogs, which is sometimes tough because people will be like, "Oh, it's a service dog," and I'm like, "No, it's not." But I can't like legally.
You can't. It's illegal to
Yeah,
ask.
I know it's really, but it's like it's tough. It really is.
Does that happen? We had
Happens all the time.
commencement.
It happened a lot today, honestly.
We had commencement on campus, and it was a different style. Anyway, people brought dogs, and they wanted to take the dogs in the building, and they said it's a service dog. And
Yeah. Because my whole thing is like, because I'm a manager here, like my whole thing is like I'm not gonna push it. Like if they say it's a service dog, like sure, but like on an actual level, like I don't believe you.
right.
But I'm not gonna say anything about it.
Right, and hopefully you're able to sleep tonight for this lie you're telling me. Right?
How dare you?
Yeah.
Crack open.
All right, I think it's time. Last beer.
Time.
Now kind of powered hour through these, but I didn't mention this, but like if you don't want to go through all 4 of these beers, you don't have to. I'm just doing this because I'm supposed to.
There you
But I enjoy going through these. So this is Big League. This is this one right here. Big League. This is our one of our newer beers. This is a
This is a real.
this is a
This has got a lot of alcohol content in it, huh?
yeah, it does. That's why I saved it for last, you know.
It smells just
You
like
gotta go big and then go home, or at least in my case, I go big and go home. But you guys are already home.
Yeah, we are at home.
Like I said, so see how this one is hazy, cloudy, all that shit. So this is going through that first process, and the first step in fermentation is skipping the last process. This is kind of similar to Dragon Vice on the regard that it has those healthier ingredients. It has the sea salt. Obviously it's not even close to being Dragon Vice, but like it has sea salt. It has buckwheat kasha. It has buckwheat kasha, chia seeds. That's the one.
Chia seeds?
Chia seeds. It's got chia seeds in it too. You can't actually see it, but it's there. But it has like kind of better for you ingredients. It's a hazy beer. It's a juicy IPA, hazy IPA as the what to call it. I haven't had any yet. I'm gonna shut up and drink.
this is my favorite.
This is good.
I like this one too.
I don't. We don't.
You know, I had a feeling. I could see her face when this first started. I was like, she doesn't like it.
Beverly, you didn't drink beer when you were 25 at the Harpoon Brewery.
I was never a big beer drinker, I'll be honest, even when I was in college.
I like this one.
This is my
I like
favorite.
seltzer though.
Yeah.
You like seltzer, yeah.
Seltzer, yeah.
Hey, we have seltzer here too. You can come by.
I like girly drinks.
Cool. The cool thing is, so our outdoor space we have both, like we have Arctic Chill cans for sale, just in general, like you can drink it straight up. We also have something where basically it's called chillers, where we have wild pops, which are basically popsicles from this small company in Jamaica Plain. We take the popsicle, we put it in a 16-ounce cup, and we pour Arctic Chill over it.
Oh, I like that.
Good.
Yeah, that I like.
That's really good. We have that. We have an Arctic Chill sangria that we're making. So that's
Yeah, these are all things I would like.
It's
Yeah.
got like four different Arctic Chill flavors in it. It's got some like actual fruit juice and stuff. It's topped with like a palm tree and
Yeah, I'm
orange
the palm
slices.
Type. Yeah, that's
So
good.
that would be right up your
I
alley.
liked this one too.
The Dragon of Ice.
I like that one.
I like it too.
Yeah, well, I know I can't have the gluten, but
I think I'm still a fan of the Wana mango. That was good.
I like that one too.
Yeah.
this one,
The
this
Camp
one was
One
my,
mango was my favorite.
What's our ranking? So I feel like IPA was probably the lowest. If I had to guess.
oh, this one.
Not for me.
Oh, that's true. Some of you might be different. Yeah,
It's
for
like
you.
my tried and true.
Yeah, it was my surprisingly though, like it was my favorite, but then I actually liked the Wana mango.
Good.
But
Good.
this is my new favorite.
Nice.
Which,
Excellent.
Oh, this one.
oh
Yeah.
no, this one's my favorite.
He's a fan of IPAs though. He loves like Heady Topper and like
Oh yeah.
all those fancy beers.
Just
I
there.
like this
Uh,
one.
But
the
The
mango.
Wana mango actually was the front runner before this one
Yeah.
because it was just refreshing and nice, you know.
And that's the cool thing, guys. Like everyone's palate's different. Like everyone tastes and perceives beer like differently, which is
Oh yeah,
also the really cool thing about beer is because like you can literally talk to like 3 or 4 different people and like be like, oh, I get like super citrusy notes on this. And you're like, no, I think it's like super bitter, and like it's just so cool to kind of talk about that with like people like-minded people. So
Mm.
I love that about beer too.
Yeah.
I've been drawn in for many years now, so I love this stuff. Yeah. That being said, I've been here for 6 years, and I'm not just saying this because I'm working, but like I love working here. It's awesome.
Well, you get to drink beer. Is
Look at these cool things like this, like drink with you guys.
yeah, yeah, it really stinks. You know, your job
Yeah, this sucks.
totally sucks.
Man, what a life. What a
That's okay. I'm working right now
I was
too.
gonna say, we
I'm
can't
working
really
right now.
complain either. I mean,
life. Guys, I got like 5 minutes. Yeah, you guys have any more questions about anything? I'm happy to answer literally whatever.
it's like
I don't think so.
What makes the big league hazy?
It doesn't go through the.
So, mostly the.
Don't answer.
I would say mostly the hops. I can actually pull it up real quick and kind of tell you what's in it. It wasn't actually letting me do it before. Big league. So it has a bunch of different hops in it. So Cascade. So these hops I showed you before. Cascade. Oh,
Sean,
thank you.
Sean, you have a note in the.
Yeah,
in the
Thank you,
chat.
Kathy. I appreciate that.
Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you guys.